think you mean a buyout, 'cause it's pretty clear you're on your way out. And though I understand it's hard sometimes to make up your mind in these trying times, yeah, I just can't accept you leaving me when I'm overseas with the heart so heavy. Think that I deserve the truth for once, not a guilty tone, 'cause you're not alone, yeah. You said you wanna come home, but I know you don't. So this time I won't hear it on the phone. If you got something to say to me, then say it to my face. What it's all about, why you're bailing out. Think you owe me an apology. Just say it to my face. You're sorry. You're so sorry. You're so sorry. You're so sorry. You're so sorry. Say it to my face. You're sorry. And I quit my job for you, even quit some friends for you, 'cause you couldn't stand it, me all independent, so you had to have me for yourself. That was when I trusted you, when I could add up 2 and 2, when you promised we'd be together, you, me, forever. Now there's nothing left to lose. In my face, what it's all about, why you're bailing out. Think you owe me an apology. Just say it to my face. You're sorry. You're so sorry. You're so sorry. You're so sorry. You're so sorry. Say it to my face. You're sorry. This time I think I get it. This love was overrated. No more infatuated.
How's it going, guys? How am I sounding right now? Is everything good? Do I need to turn down the in-game audio? I probably do. I'm guessing it's very loud. Hello, hello. Wait, test the Free Fire P. I'm not exactly sure what that is. Like, what is that? Like, are you talking about like the firefight game mode? Because for right now, what I'm thinking is we're just going to be testing out the campaigns, see how they run. Might try out maybe some of the multiplayer, maybe firefight. Not 100% sure on that yet. But how's everybody doing right now? All right, well, we're going to be jumping into the campaign right now. I think I'm going to be starting off with Combat Evolved Anniversary. We're pretty much just going to start from the very beginning. I've done it a little bit, but I don't remember even what I did on there. And we're just going to go normal difficulty. We're not going to go with anything crazy. How do I just skip all of this? So right now, everything is just running at original quality for everything, and we're at the full 1080p resolution. All right, so we're just going to jump right on into the campaign, see how things go. Hey there, how's it going? Now we're going to just start this off with the stock 15-watt TDP. I don't think we need to raise it right now. I'd be surprised if we're actually going to need to raise it. Okay, well, right now already this cutscene is already going below 60. A little surprise there. But we are right now at a very low GPU clock. I wonder why. Well, we'll see how things go when we're actually in the game. Of course, I'm not going to start the benchmarking of it yet until we're actually in game and I can control things.
Cortana, all I need to know is, did we lose them?
I think we both know the answer to that.
How is the audio, by the way? Does it need to be turned up? Do I need to turn it down?
We made a blind jump. How did they...
Get here first? The Covenant ships have always been faster. As for tracking us all the way from Reach, at light speed my maneuvering options were limited.
We were running dark, yes?
Until we decelerated, no one could have missed the hole we tore in subspace.
Alright, I was a little worried that the performance in the cutscene was going to be kind of bad, but so far it's decent enough.
So, where do we stand?
Hey, how's it
Our fighters are
going?
mopping up the last of their recon picket now, nothing serious. But I've isolated approach signatures for multiple CCS-class battle groups. Make it 3 capital ships
Okay,
per group.
the FPS is kind of
In about
dropping a
90
bit here. I'm
seconds,
kind of
they'll
worried how
all
it's going to be when
over
we're
us.
actually in game.
Well, that's it then. Bring the ship back up to combat alert alpha. I want everyone at their...
I mean, having that like
Everyone
drops
set?
like this in a cutscene, not too bad, but
And Cortana,
a little rough here.
Hmm?
let's give our old friend...
By the way, how have the Valorant games been going?
Already begun.
Attention, all combat personnel. Please report to your action stations.
How's it running for you, actually?
Fifth platoon, secure airlock.
I can't remember if I've tested Payback recently. I think I have.
Head Charlie 14.
Oh, you reached Immortal in Valorant?
This is not a drill.
Wait, what? What is Immortal in
A
Valorant?
drill.
Once again, it is our job to finish.
I always forget the rankings in Valorant. Holy crap. Okay, that is, yeah, that's top level stuff. Okay. Okay, what a flex. Okay, I see you. I see you. Nice, nice.
Am I right, Marines? Sir, yes, sir.
I just recently convinced my friends to start playing Valorant,
All personnel. We are
and we have just been absolutely getting destroyed. It's been hilarious.
All you greenhorns who wanted to see Covenant up
Is that what you've
close,
been getting a
this is
Need
gonna
for
be
Speed
your lucky
Payback?
day.
Because that's actually not bad performance.
Sure. Right.
I mean, having to go down to 720p kind of sucks in a racing game just because you want the cars to look cool, but it's not the end of the world. Wait, how do you toggle the old graphics?
He's hot. Blowing the
There's like a
fins of fire.
specific button for it, isn't there?
Tube shows green. Cycle complete.
Sorry for the quick thaw, Master Chief. Things are a little hectic right now.
Ooh, yeah, no. Here, the numbers we're getting already just here are pretty rough.
Chief, please look around the room. I need to get a calibration reading for your battlesuit's diagnostics.
Yeah. I'm looking around. I'm looking around.
Bring your health monitors online, sir.
Yeah, 720p really isn't too bad. It just can make the edges of things look pretty bad sometimes, but other than that, it's not the end of the world. Like, getting good performance is better overall.
I gave you a double dose of the wake-up stim. Take a quick walk around the cryo bay and join me.
Oh,
at
I
the
wiped my
diagnostic
HP
station.
Aero 13, by the way. I'm going to be installing Atlas OS on that. Well, I wiped it so that I could do testing with a clean version of Windows 11. And I did also see that AMD finally released the drivers that fix, you know, DirectX 11 and OpenGL.
Look at each of the flashing panels to target them. When you lock on, it'll change color.
So I'm going to be like testing out like the drivers that were before that. I'm going to test out the new ones, and then after that I'm going to try out Atlas. Yeah, I'm looking at it. What? Oh, okay.
Okay, that looks good.
Sir, I'm getting some calibration errors. I'm going to invert your looking pitch. So
Hey, how's it going?
better that way. Try targeting the flashing lights again.
Oh god, I hate inverted controls so
Better, or
much.
should I switch it back?
Oh,
Okay,
thank god.
Try looking up and down again, please. Do you want me to leave it like that or switch it again?
Yup, this is Halo 1 right now. Wait, what am I supposed to do? Okay, I'm gonna just leave it how it is.
But if you want, you can change it yourself.
The overlay is kind of just like covering some of the stuff right now.
Ready for the energy shield test now.
Please follow me to the energy shield test station.
How you doing, Raul?
Defensive positions Alpha through Sierra. Sensors show inbound Covenant boarding craft. Stand by to repel boarders.
Where am I supposed to go at this point?
Stand on the yellow square. This will just take a
All
second.
right.
Okay, bring his energy shields online, please.
I am left-handed.
All right. Shields read as fully charged.
Okay, sir. Bring them down.
I'm
to the
left-handed,
other
but I
battery
pretty
charge.
much just, you know, I use my right hand with a mouse. I've tried to use a left-handed mouse before, and it feels really weird. Oh, you're a lefty too. Nice. Do you use a right-handed mouse or a left-handed mouse?
Green across the board.
Bridge to Cryo 2, this is Captain Key. Send the Master Chief to the bridge immediately.
Captain, we'll have to skip the weapons diagnostics and
On the double, crewman.
Aye, sir. The skipper seems jumpy. We'd better get moving. We'll find you weapons later.
Okay, I'll leave the self-diagnostics running at least.
Good idea. You'd better get to your evac group, Sam.
Oh god, they're trying to get through the door! Security! Intruders in Cryo 2! Please, God!
Sam!
And of course, everything immediately goes to shit.
This way!
What is the... Oh, okay, it's tab. Oh my god, look at the FPS difference. Holy crap. Like, literally just the FPS difference when you just go to potato quality. Yeah, that's exactly how I am too. Like, I cannot play with my left hand at all, but like everything else, I depend on it. Almost everything else. There's certain things that I've just learned to use my right hand for just out of necessity because like everything's designed for people that are right-handed. Oh my god, it just performs so much better with potato quality. Like, we just HDify and we just lose so much FPS. I mean, it's not bad actually. We're around a 60 FPS average. Wait, where do I go from here? This way, this way. Ugh. Is this where I'm supposed to go? I don't think so. Yo, somebody give me a gun. Give me a gun. Okay. Anybody want to give me a gun? Wait, did he say to follow him? Yeah, it's crazy how like the HD version is like really dying in terms of performance. Like, I'm surprised it's dropping down low this much. I mean, at least if we go to potato quality, it performs decent enough.
See you, Master Chief. Things aren't going well.
It's a shame that it doesn't let you like change mid a thing, you know? Hey, how's it going, Gilbert?
Superior battle ships against a single Halcyon-class cruiser. With those odds, I'm content with 3. Make that 4.
Like, I thought part of the charm was that we could, you know, just toggle things. But I guess you can't do that for the cutscenes.
So you did miss me.
Report.
It must have been one of their boarding
I'm surprised it's actually, like, this heavy.
Fire control for the main cannon.
Just considering the fact that it's, like, it doesn't look that much better.
All right then. I'm initiating Cold Protocol Article 2.
It depends, like what do you mean by story-based games? Because there's a lot like that. You know, like, do you like RPG games in general, or do you like more linear story-based games?
With all due respect, sir, this war hasn't.
Because, like, there's a lot of options, and also depending on how old you're willing to go with games. Like, have you ever played the Dragon Age series? Because I, in particular, Dragon Age Origins, absolutely love it. Life is Strange is also really, really good.
Lock in a selection of emergency landing zones, upload them to my neural lace, and then
Really, a lot of those, like, interactive, like, almost like movie type games, I really enjoy those.
where you come in, Chief. Get Cortana off this ship. Keep her safe from the enemy. If they capture her, they'll learn everything. Force deployment, weapons research. Earth.
I understand.
The Autumn will continue evasive maneuvers until you initiate a landing sequence. Not that you'll listen.
Don't they have other Life is Strange games like True Colors and
Excellent
do
work.
they have another one besides True Colors?
Are you ready?
Yank me.
I really need to pick up like Detroit and like Beyond Two Souls to see if they perform well on here.
Good luck, Master Chief.
No, this isn't a cracked version. This is like the Game Pass version of it. So it's like the essentially the remaster, like the anniversary edition.
Funny ideas.
I don't keep it loaded, son.
It's got that feature where you could just toggle between like old and new graphics. And you could just see the FPS drop immediately. Like, we essentially double our FPS by going with the older graphics. Oh my god, yeah. Rockstar Games, it's so sad the way that they've gone with their whole business model because of the fact that they used to make the best single-player games. They still do, really, because, like, I mean, Red Dead 2 and GTA 5 both have really good stories. We just never got any DLC for them.
We need to get going, Chief. We need to get off the ship before it's completely overrun by Covenant.
I think that they have such a unique way of doing stories in games that no one really replicates. Because they really go for, like, making a movie type of experience, you know?
Do what you do best.
Oh, I'm shooting my own guys here. Wait, is the stream buffering for you guys? Is that what's going on right now?
Nice shot. Let's find him. All clear over here.
Combat teams on deck 7 and 8. Fall back to secondary defensive position.
Like, how's the stream playing for you guys? Is everything good, or do I need to, like, adjust some things?
Cover me. I got your back, buddy. Careful, it could be anywhere.
Oh my god, yeah. All of the PlayStation exclusive games, I've been so excited for them to hit, like, on the PC. Like, Returnal, I'm looking forward to that. The Spider-Man games, of course. I don't think that a glossy screen is necessarily bad for gaming, but it can be rough when, like, they're on, like, really dim displays.
Cavalry has arrived.
Like, the display on this laptop is glossy, and it's not bad when it's like in a darkened like room, because like it's only a 250 nit display, so it's not very bright at all. In a dark room it's fine though, but if I was like at school and you know, like with the really bright lights and all that, it can be pretty rough to see sometimes. Stop getting in front of my bullets, my dude. But in general, I wouldn't say that a glossy screen is necessarily bad for gaming. I just would prefer a matte display whenever I can.
They're using our lifeboat airlocks to attach their boarding craft. We go out and they come in. Clever bastards.
Taking fire! We could use a hand! Want some more?
Oh yeah, the Tomb Raider series is also a really good recommendation. Yeah, a lot of really solid games there. Fallout New Vegas in particular, like you could get so much content out of that. Yeah, 300 nits is like a decent amount for like a glossy display. Like I think 250 nits is just like just a little too low, especially for like brighter environments. Yeah, those are all really solid games. That Resident Evil 4 remaster, I'm really hyped for. Really hyped for that. Resident Evil 4 was like the first Resident Evil game that I actually fully played, and I love it so much. Yeah, that's the problem of like just being around for a long time. You play a lot of the really good games, and really good games don't come out that frequent. Like, especially as the standard of a video game has just been dropping over the years, the amount of really good video games that we get is just few and far between. Yeah, Resident Evil 2 is just so good. I really like the atmosphere of Resident Evil 7 though. They nailed the horror so much. Like, especially with how goofy Resident Evil 6 was, it was surprising that with 7 they actually managed to like make something that was like legitimately horror. Yeah, I really want like the updated controls for like Resident Evil 4, like the remaster. That's why I'm super hyped for it, because going back to those old school controls is rough. And running this at the original quality at the 15-watt TDP is surprisingly just tough here. I mean, at least Ragnarok is supposed to come out soon. Although, is it going to be launching on PC as the same time as like the console version? Like, is it going to be like a day one release, or are we going to have to wait another year? Oh, you got the Resident Evil 2 remake. The remake is just so good. It's so good. Like, actually just set a benchmark for what like remakes of games should be. Man, did you guys see that the Knights of the Old Republic like a remake got essentially canceled? I mean, they said it indefinite hiatus, but that pretty much just means it's over. Like, I was really looking forward to the Knights of the Old Republic remaster. Or I guess remake. It's not a remaster. Oh yeah, Divinity. Divinity Original Sin 2 is fantastic. There's so much content in that. Yeah, I mean, I was cautiously optimistic about that, you know, remake, but now that it's been like essentially put on indefinite development, it's just I have very little hope that we'll see it anytime soon.
Clear.
The OG Deus Ex is really good. Really, really good. Like the OG one is really, really good. It's kind of rough to play now if you don't like mod it, but it's really, really good. Like in terms of just like story and just world building, like nothing really competes with it. Yeah, I mean, over the years, you kind of just start to realize how much you end up spending on video games. And even when you buy them all on sale, it's a lot of money that ends up getting spent. But I never buy games full price. Like, I can't remember the last time I actually bought a game full price. Are you playing through the OG Deus Ex? Are you, like, playing just, like, vanilla, or are you using one of the mods for it? Because I know there's, like, a lot of, like, mods that try to, like, modernize it. I don't know which ones are, like, the most popular right now or anything like that.
The Covenant are destroying the life pods.
Is Stray actually good? I don't know what Stray is. Like, I tuned into somebody's stream because, like, they were playing it, and I thought it was just a cat simulator, but then I saw these little alien thingies eating a cat, and I was horrified. Like, what? That was not at all what I was expecting. No mods, just straight vanilla? Nice. Yeah, I remember when I first got a gaming PC, I was just pirating everything because, like, you know, you just spent like all of your money on like a gaming PC, so obviously you're left with nothing, you know. Wait, am I going the right way? What just happened? What am I doing wrong here? So, like, is there like an actual story to it and everything? I thought it was literally just a cat simulator. Yo, where am I supposed to go here? I am like very lost. Oh, I'm just very dumb.
I'm detecting Covenant movement outside the access ways. Activating motion tracker. Let's find a safe exit. They're right on top
Oh,
of us.
Man Eater. I know that that's on the Game Pass. It does not perform very well on this chip. Like, it's a game that I would want to recommend for you to play, but it just does not run well at all on this chip. Like, I mean, you could try to give it a go if you want, but really at no settings did I find it to be a very enjoyable game to play. Like, I feel like you're going to miss out on a lot of the experience because of it. Am I supposed to be able to go through here? Am I supposed to wait things out? I'm confused as to what's supposed to be happening here. Not that I know of. I don't know, like, what you could really modify any of the config files. Is that not supposed to open?
Motion tracker shows all clear. Wait, we need to
Okay.
get through that door. It's been damaged by that explosion. Analyzing. The door's control mechanism is offline, but it's taken a lot of damage. You should be able to bash it open with the butt of your weapon.
Yeah, Horizon is a very, very heavy and demanding game. In general, it just does not seem to run well on like any APU system. Man, I am still hunting for like a decently priced laptop with a 6600U. They are like impossible to find. The Alder Lake chips I'm very, very like iffy about. I want to get my hands on an i7, but at least the i5, like the 1235U, I'm not too impressed with.
It looks like the Covenant one.
It eats up a lot of power. A lot of power. And it's supposed to be a U-series processor, and it's like chugging down more power than like any U-series processor ever has. Oh, what? I didn't even realize that there were like mods for God of War like that. I guess it makes sense since you're just replacing like, you know, like textures and stuff. I really do want to know what the 96 EU version of the Intel iGPU can actually do, though. But the i5 with the 80 EU is like, to me, just a deal breaker. Like it's just so much weaker than anything else that I couldn't recommend it. Maybe the i7 is different because it does have a more powerful iGPU. But as it stands, the i5s, like none of the Alder Lake chips, at least their like lower performance chips, are impressive to me. Yeah, pretty much. Like at the end of the day, what matters the most is really what price targets they can hit. Because even like the like 1235U at the right price can be a decent buy. The problem is that every system that I've seen it in is close enough to an AMD CPU that just kind of performs better than it. Because here's the thing. Yeah, the 1235U has a better CPU than the i5 or the Ryzen 5 5500U. You know, the 5500U at this point is a couple of years old. So the i5 does perform better in terms of the CPU, but in terms of the GPU, it's not even comparable. The Ryzen 5 just does so much better. And like at the end of the day, if you're just a regular user and all you care about is playing games, that extra CPU performance means nothing. It's not going to give you any benefit. But that GPU performance will. So I'm just not as impressed with Alder Lake because it was a CPU improvement over what we got with Tiger Lake. But it's not a CPU upgrade that was really as necessary. It does help in certain games though, because there were certain situations where just 4 core 8 threads was very limiting. I don't think it's necessarily cheaping out. I think it's part of their segmentation because realistically speaking, if they didn't cut down the GPU, what would be the difference between an i5 and an i7? a couple of extra cores is not enough to really upsell an i7 because CPU performance doesn't matter for almost all users. If you need a better CPU, you kind of already know it. In almost every situation, you don't really need a better CPU. You're better off with a better GPU, which is why they give you the cut down version on the i5 so the i7 actually looks like a decent deal. It depends on what you want out of your system between a Ryzen 5 5600H and the 5625U. Because the 5600H is going to use up more power. So it's going to give you better performance. But you're using more power, which means that the battery life is going to be lower. So it really just depends. Because like the fact that the 5600H is going to reach a higher TDP by default pretty much means that it's going to be able to squeeze out more performance.
Chief, can you hear me?
But you are going to be using up more power.
Are you all right? Can you move?
So you just have to like figure out whether or not the performance uplift is going to be good for you, because it is going to be overall better performance, but just at the detriment of your battery. How do I... Oh, wait.
The others. The impact.
I actually did not check the battery health yet. I pretty much have just been like today, I have been testing non-stop stuff because, you know, the new driver update came out for AMD and it's supposed to actually have the OpenGL and DirectX 11 fixes. So I want to see if there's actually an uplift. So I've been testing a bunch of different games today, and like tomorrow is when I'm going to do the driver update on it. We're going to see if there's actually any improvements there. Okay, I think I need to raise the TDP of this just to see if hitting 25 watts will actually give us better performance in this. So before the screen starts all flashing, switch to this. Because capture cards can be very, very finicky when you tab out sometimes. All right, we are now at the 25 watt TDP. Fluctuating a little bit there. Hopefully it levels out. Are you currently updating the drivers? Yeah, I'm very curious if there are actually going to be any improvements. At least so far, the AMD rep did say that the improvements should be happening for like all of their GPUs pretty much. Like they did say it's going to be on Vega. I'm hoping that they're right and it wasn't, you know, just a miscommunication, because it was one of their representatives on Reddit that pretty much said that. Man, the 25 watt TDP is not improving the performance as much as I was hoping it would. Yep, just gonna beat him down. Like, just look at how so much better the performance is when we go to potato quality. Like, this feels incredible. I think that upgrading your Wi-Fi chip is almost required depending on which company you have. Because Realtek has some real bad chips. It really just depends on like the level of performance that you're getting right now, though. Because like I've replaced some Realtek ones with Intel chips before, and it can actually help if you're having like signal issues, because that's one of those things where companies love to cheap out on. They love to cheap out on like going with like a cheaper Wi-Fi chip, even though like realistically they're not even that expensive. Where am I supposed to go here? God, it has been ages since I've played Halo Combat Evolved. Yeah, I think this one still has a Realtek one. When I first got it, my God, the drivers were so bad. It took me forever to like actually like get it functional. It kept like disconnecting and crashing my whole PC. Like it was brutal. I would pretty much have to like disable it hardware wise, like on device manager, and then from there, like it was just a huge pain to actually find drivers that weren't killing the system. I genuinely don't think they ever will, or at least not until 7000 series comes out. Because they just aren't available anywhere. I mean, there are some available. Like I could actually buy one right now if I wanted to. But I don't have the kind of money that they're asking for, because they're asking for essentially $1,200 for like an or the Ryzen 5. That's like ridiculous. Like absolutely ridiculous. Like I don't think that we're going to be seeing like Ryzen 6000 like systems probably until like it actually ends up replacing the Ryzen 5 5625U. Yeah, that's the thing. They're at the price point where you're probably just better off getting a gaming system. Like at least here in the US, I could get a Lenovo Legion with like a 3060 and like a Ryzen 7 for pretty much the cost of like what Lenovo wants for a 50 or a 6600U. It's one of those things where like they're really charging you a lot for the fact that you're going for a more portable system, and you're probably going to get better battery life than a gaming system. But if gaming is your top priority, I mean, the thing is, you can get some really slim systems that will still perform better for gaming. You know, because like if you get an Acer Swift X, that is a Ryzen 7 5800U paired with a 30, it's like what, a 3050 Ti? It might be a 3050, but I'm pretty sure it's the Ti version. Like even at a lower TDP on that 3050 Ti, it's still going to perform better than the AMD iGPU. Yeah, Asus ROG honestly does have some pretty cheap models. Like here in the US in Walmart, you can actually like pick up for like around like $800 one with like a 3050 Ti, and that's like not exactly a cheap like price. Like you're kind of getting ripped off there, but it is ROG branded, so they're upselling you on that. But that's still going to perform better than any system with a like 6600U. So like if you want gaming performance, you're pretty much just better off going with like an actual gaming system. And you could even get like a Lenovo Legion Slim.
We could use your help, sir. Heads up! I got a Covenant dropship heading in. Over here.
You know, like getting like a portable system that can game, that's going to be better than a system with a 6600U is not that expensive, honestly. Like right now, the 6600U and 6800U just do not make any sense in terms of price. They really don't. Because they're great gaming performance, but for the prices that you're paying and like the fact that like the systems that they're going to be in are not exactly ultra portable, it just doesn't make much sense at all. Like if I could pick up for $700 right now a system with like the 6600U, then we're talking about, you know, something a lot more reasonable there. But at over $1,000, we're at gaming system prices. Oh, really? What are you going to college for?
Covenant dropship on approach. I could use some help over here.
Like, what degree are you gonna be working on? Like, are you starting it, or is it just like a new semester starting and you've already been like going to school for it? My God, this just feels so much better when you play with the older graphics, honestly. Like, I mean, this looks better for sure, but like, for the level of performance that you're getting, you're really sacrificing like a lot just for things to look a little prettier. I really just prefer playing with the older graphics, really. Oh my God. Yeah, no, that's a field where like you can make some really, really good money in. Really, really good money. Like every company out there is just jumping into AI. Like even companies that you really don't expect, you know, like companies like Facebook, like Amazon and stuff like that are just diving super, super deep into like AI. Companies all over the world, especially tech companies, like brand new startups in like developing markets, they are all jumping into AI. It's like, it's such a booming like market right now. Like it gives you a lot of options for sure. Like there's always like brand new semiconductor companies that you've never heard of before that end up getting bought out by like Google or like Amazon or whatever that have just been working on AI stuff. And they're like worth like hundreds of millions to billions of dollars. Yeah, no, landing a job in one of those companies sounds like it would just be fantastic, specifically for your resume, because I'm gonna be honest, a lot of those companies aren't necessarily the best payers. Like their rates aren't exactly the best. They have a lot of pedigree to them, so like you kind of do sometimes get screwed on that, especially when it comes to like entry level stuff. But having that on your resume is just one of those things where like it looks really good. God, the pistol was always the best thing about Halo Combat Evolved. Really, AI development in general is just such a good like field to get into. Like software development to utilize like AI acceleration. There's going to be big money in that because everyone is going to be putting AI accelerators onto their chips pretty much. But like from this point on, AI acceleration is all going to be happening on dedicated hardware within an SoC. So with everything having that AI acceleration, knowing how to actually utilize that in like development is going to be a huge leg up. Because like, I mean, AI hardware is already in a lot of chips, especially on mobile devices, and it's all about just having the developers to utilize it.
Roger, Echo 419. This is Fire Team Charlie. We read you. Is that you, Fohammer?
Roger, Fire Team Charlie. Good to hear from you.
Fohammer, we need transportation to the...
Yeah, I mean, that's how it goes, unfortunately. Like, if you want to like dedicate yourself to like getting a solid career, a lot of the times it eats up into having a social life. It really does. Like having a healthy work-life balance is really difficult, especially when you're starting out. Because, like, I mean, the sad truth is that a lot of the times you just, to even be able to be in a position where you could be comfortable, you have to sacrifice so much. I would honestly just look into whatever Lenovo Legion prices are around you. Or not Legion, Lenovo IdeaPad. The Lenovo IdeaPad and the HP Pavilion 15 are really solid. I would kind of avoid the really cheap, like the non-Pavilion HPs, I really would avoid them because they do cheap out a lot on them. Like, you will find some deceptively cheap systems. And I mean deceptively cheap because they will sacrifice everything in terms of like the hardware just to be able to like get like the chip in there, but the overall experience is really rough. Oh yeah, no, The Witcher 3 is fantastic. I'm glad you like it. It's such a good game. Yeah, CSGO was one of the games that I actually downloaded to do like the testing on there. I expected it to be one of the games that actually saw a pretty decent uplift. I don't expect a lot of games to actually see a huge uplift. And a lot of the ones that I tested so far, there wasn't a huge upgrade. It is, but it's one of those things where a lot of the times the price point is kind of just, it's the territory that you come to, you know? Like, there are very few systems at those like cheaper prices that have bigger batteries. That's like the first thing that companies like will cheap out on. And also the default TDP of like 15 watts actually gives you some pretty decent battery life. Yeah, manufacturers will hide TDP information. It's the most annoying thing. I absolutely hate it. Because it's literally to the point where if they don't mention the TDP, saying the CPU model number almost means nothing. You know what I mean? Because like, okay, it has a 5600U, but if it's like capped to 15 watts and I can't actually raise that, you would have been better off going with a system with a 5500U that actually would let you raise the TDP. Yeah, Minecraft is the biggest one that I'm curious about because obviously it's like the OpenGL game that everyone thinks about. Wait, did I just mess up here? I always end up like half paying attention to what I'm doing, so I get so confused as to where I'm going. $16 GB of RAM for sure. For sure. That is like the upgrade that I think will make the biggest difference to like the usability of the chip. Because 8 GB nowadays is extremely limiting. It really is. It really, really is. No, pretty much it wasn't until like the 6000 series that AMD systems are starting to actually support Thunderbolt. Oh, I literally just went in reverse. Because you need Thunderbolt to actually be able to use an eGPU. And AMD pretty much is just barely now with the 6000 series actually getting Thunderbolt. Well, it's USB 4. But USB 4 has Thunderbolt built into it. It's just not labeled as Thunderbolt.
Come on, floor it!
Yeah, you need to pay attention to things like cooling on them, specifically because of the fact that TDP is going to be very important for your performance. Very, very important for your performance. The heck is over here? Oh, nothing. Really, I use the USB-C every day, but that's just because like I have a dock that has like an Ethernet port. So that ends up just being what I end up using. What am I doing here? Where am I supposed to go?
Let's roll.
I think Dark Souls 1 definitely needed a remaster. It definitely needed a remaster. Of all of the Dark Souls games that needed a remaster, the first one did, because it only runs at 720p 30 FPS on the PC. Like, it definitely needed a remaster. Like, obviously, like, it does become more difficult to run on lower end systems. But if you're someone that has like a more high-end system, it did suck that playing Dark Souls meant that you were just stuck at 720p 30 FPS. In general, though, a lot of remasters are pretty bad. Like, pretty bad.
More of them.
They really, like, don't change much of anything.
Give me an angle.
Like, definitely most remasters are not made the same. Whoa, okay, I literally just, like, committed suicide there. Did not mean to do that there, bud.
We've got contact. I found him.
Yeah, CSGO has, like, some of the most toxic lobbies I've ever seen.
Well, that's one way to say
Like,
that.
people will complain about toxicity in Valorant, and I have not encountered anywhere near the toxicity in Valorant that I've seen in CS.
Make them count.
Like, the people that play CS are just way too invested.
How's it feel, mate? Over here.
If you already own the original Dark Souls, you can pretty much still play it. Like, it's like tied to your Steam account. They don't like... Well, I was going to say they don't remove the games from your Steam library. They can if a publisher requests it, but obviously, like, very few publishers actually, like, make them remove the games from your library. But I did already own the OG Dark Souls. My God, the performance hit that just happens with like the HD quality stuff. At least in here, it seems like the performance with the remastered quality looks better. I want to just throw myself off again. What am I supposed to mess with here? Yeah, I don't know how people get so, like, invested in games like that, you know? Yeah, that's one thing that I really hate that they do. Because, like, they did that with Assassin's Creed 3. Because Assassin's Creed 3 has a terrible remaster. It does not look really any better. It performs way worse. And they got rid of, like, the original version. Like, I hate when they just do that. Like, if you're going to do a remaster, at least include both in the purchase. Like, what does it matter? You know? Like, give the OG version and give the remaster. Like, when they remove the old stuff, it makes me just feel like, okay, your remaster was probably not good enough, that you need to hide the fact that it's not good enough. What am I supposed to do here, actually? I'm not sure. Actually, we might just jump over into Halo 2 now. Because I am curious how Halo 2 is going to perform in this. So far, it really seems like the combat evolved. Like the updated graphics, kind of rough in terms of performance. 25-watt TDP actually does improve it enough that it's pretty decent. That's the thing, though. It doesn't even look that much better. Like the Assassin's Creed 3 remaster does not look that much better than the original. It depends on the fan itself, but more than likely that is going to be pretty rough, especially on the on a 1240. That's going to be really rough because those things can go all the way up to like 80 watts at like turbo peak. It's 80. I think from there it goes down to 60, and then like it levels off at like 28, which is like pretty brutal. All right, we're going to switch over to Halo 2. And drop things down back to the 15-watt TDP. I would go with the Ezio trilogy. Like, are you on a 5500U? Because if you're on the 5500U, then I would definitely go with the Ezio trilogy. Really? How does it impact the performance? Yeah, because with the Ezio trilogy, I mean, you get some fantastic games there. You know they're going to perform well on there. Again, if you were on a 5500U.
Your new suit's a Mark 6. Just came up from Songnam this morning. Try and take it easy until you get used to the upgrades. Okay, let's test your targeting first thing. Please look at the top light.
I buy all of the games that I play.
Good. Now look at the bottom light. All right. Look at the top light again. That's it. Now the bottom one. Okay. Tracking looks sketchy. I'm gonna run you through the full diagnostic. The diagnostic.
Oh, you have
software
the
sets your
Iris
targeting
XE?
system to be normal. Go
Yeah, I
ahead
would
and
go
look
with
at
the
each of
Ezio
four
trilogy
lights,
then,
Chief.
for sure.
You want me to leave it like that or make it inverted? I'll leave your targeting set to normal. If you change your mind, you can switch the setting anytime. Stand by. I'm gonna offline.
And
the
Halo
inhibitors.
2 seems like it's real heavy here. I mean, we're just in the 40s right now.
When you're ready, come meet me by the zapper. Pay attention, because I'm only going over this once. This station will test your recharging energy shields. Step on in, I'll show you. Your new armor shields are extremely resilient, very efficient. Bingo! As you can see, they recharge a lot faster.
Yeah, I mean, I would not be surprised after seeing what they did with the Assassin's Creed remaster. I would not have any faith in an Assassin's Creed 2 remaster.
Or he can hide behind me. You done with my boy
COD
here,
World War
Master
II
Guns?
was pretty fun. It performed pretty rough, but it's one of those games that I'm going to be testing out with the DirectX Vulkan like injector thing, like the DV or what's it called, DX VK, I think is what it's called. I've been messing around with it in certain games, and it does actually improve the performance pretty decently.
My ass! Well, you can forget about those adjustments to your A2 scope.
Well, he's in a particularly fine mood.
But in general, at the like default settings, it is pretty rough to try to play. You have to go down to like 900p or maybe 720p. But it's a fun enough game for sure.
When I shipped out for basic, the orbital defense grid was all theory and politics. Now look, the Cairo is just one of 300 geosync platforms. That Mac gun can put a round clean through a Covenant capital ship.
Man, this is set to the original quality and it's still performing pretty rough. I mean, obviously original quality in terms of like the anniversary edition. Yeah, I occasionally watch ETA Prime. He uploads every day and I don't manage to catch like every video. But especially like if it's like something interesting that he's talking about, then I'll definitely watch it. Like I've seen like his videos where he'll like put like eGPUs essentially on like the mini PCs and stuff like that. I definitely enjoy his videos a lot. I've just become a lot more of like a Twitch stream like watcher than like YouTube watcher. But a lot of the times when I'm waiting for like a video to like finish rendering, that's when like I'll squeeze in like a YouTube video in or two.
How's it going, Malta? Stand by. They're latched. Check your targets, watch the crossfire. They're in standard formation. Little bad
Black Flag is really good.
Good luck, Cairo.
I'm not 100% sure how it would perform at 720p, but like if you're getting at least like a 30 or 40 FPS average, I would say play because Black Flag is really one of the best Assassin's Creed games, hands down.
As soon as that door opens, let them have it.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, the old school Assassin's Creed games were like really, really great story-wise. The newer ones, I mean, it depends on the style of game that you like. Because I know there's a lot of people that really like the new direction that Assassin's Creed has gone with like Origins and Odyssey and like Valhalla. I mean, if you go into it just expecting something different, then they're pretty decent. But at least story-wise, they're nothing remarkable.
If I get shot, make sure to give me lots of drugs.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I used to play games at like 15 FPS at like lower resolutions than what we play at today. And like, I had a lot of fun. Some of my best gaming memories are at like 15 frames per second. So like I really just don't think that FPS matters as much as like we like to pretend. But at the same time, a lot of these games, you will get a better experience overall if you're playing at a higher FPS. And if your first time playing it, like you're going to want it to just be at the best possible because that's going to be the fondest memories of it, you know? Because, like, yeah, I remember playing the original, like, Battlefront at, like, 15 frames per second and having a great time. But I'm sure my memories of it would be even better if I was playing it at 30. Overall, I'm honestly just constantly impressed with like how good a performance you can get out of cheap systems nowadays.
You wanna beat me? You best learn how to fight.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it blows my mind that like you can like buy relatively cheap systems that let you play games at like hundreds of FPS. Because like if I wanted to, I could pretty much walk into Walmart right now, pay $600, get like one of those like cheap little like Lenovo gaming systems that have like a Ryzen 5 paired with like a GTX 1650, and I'll be able to get over 120 FPS, pretty much going into like 140 FPS. in like a game like Valorant. And like that's just not something that you used to be able to do in terms of just laptops and stuff like that. Like $700 used to get you a actually terrible system. Like an actually terrible system. And nowadays you can get like for $600 you can get a very decent gaming system. Now you're sacrificing a lot there in terms of the fact that you're going to probably have 8 gigabytes of RAM. The amount of storage that you have is going to be minuscule. And your battery life is going to be probably terrible. But if all you care about is the gaming, the performance you're going to get in gaming is going to be pretty incredible.
Retreating, we won.
This is bad. Real bad.
I'll grab him getting shot.
Down, sir. Nice shot. All hands, brace for impact.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, at some point, FPS just stops mattering. It really just does. Like, I know that they're making, like, displays with, like, 300 hertz. Like, you can get laptops that have 300 hertz displays. But, like, that's not going to make you better at a game. It really isn't. I mean, it's a nice to have. But it's one of those things where it's like, it's not going to make you a better player. You have to be already in like the top levels to see any benefit from it whatsoever. And a lot of the times when you're at like the highest levels, what matters the most is familiarity. You get like used to a specific mouse, you get used to using a specific display, you get used to like a specific level of performance. So it's just one of those things where it's like, those super high refresh rate displays, they're almost copium for gamers. Yeah, it really just depends though, because like, I mean, the difference between like 144 hertz and 300 hertz in terms of latency is practically nothing. Hey, how's it going? Oh, I could totally understand why they're doing an Assassin's Creed 1 remaster. It's old enough that it's like they're banking on nostalgia on that one. Because like there's a lot of people that got into Assassin's Creed from like Assassin's Creed 2 onward and never actually played the OG one. Because if you play the OG, like Assassin's Creed, it actually plays very differently than the rest of the series. I'm doing real good. Yeah, like I actually had a blast today just testing a bunch of different games because like the new AMD drivers are out. I'm going to be updating to those tomorrow. Tested out a bunch of games with the older drivers, see if like the improvements actually come with DirectX 11 and OpenGL. So far, it seems like it is. Yeah, oh, that's actually a good one to test. The Vulkan API with GTA 4. That's a game that really needs like some performance improvements. Yeah, I gotta remember to like actually download that one and test it out. Are we supposed to go here?
All non-combat personnel to pressure zone.
Cannot get in there. I actually do not remember where I'm supposed to go from here. Down here? Oh, it is. Yeah, Nico is honestly like my favorite main character in any of the GTA games. Even more than CJ. And I like CJ. But like Nico has just so many memorable lines. Like he's just so great. I enjoy him a lot. I do wonder how much the single player holds up in GTA 4 though. Oh, I would go with like the 5625U over the 1240 any day. Any day. Like, okay, it depends on what you want to do. If you care more about gaming, the Ryzen 5 is the way to go, hands down. Like, no question, like, no debate whatsoever. If you care about like if you care about things like video editing, if you're someone that uses Premiere and stuff like that, and that's your top priority, I would go with the i5. But that is literally the only situation where I would go with it. Like, if it's either that or you have a program that you know is specifically optimized for Intel. Because, like, yeah, okay, you're getting better CPU performance on the i5, but in terms of gaming, it is noticeably worse. Noticeably worse. So I would really just try to avoid going with the i5. Like, if we were talking about an i7 system, there's a little bit more, like, debate to be had there. But with any i5 versus any Ryzen 5, like, mobile, you're pretty much just better off going Ryzen. Because the gimped iGPU. Like, the gimped iGPU in the i5 is going to essentially make the gaming performance noticeably worse. And, like, I imagine that what you care the most about is gaming performance. And, like, it's not even just a gaming performance thing, it's also battery life. Because that i5 is going to chug through that battery. It is like, you would just be so surprised how bad the battery life is on Alder Lake. It really is pretty brutal. Yeah, I'm really blown away by just how badly GTA 4 has just performed over the years. Like, it was really a rough game. Because considering that over a decade later, systems still struggle to play it at like a decent FPS. Like, you really just have to brute force your way into decent performance with it. But the physics look so good. Like, the Euphoria engine is just so good when it comes to physics. Whoa.
Come on, Chief, this way.
Yeah, in general, Alder Lake has not impressed me much on mobile. On desktop, I think it's actually really impressive. I really like it. I really like desktop Alder Lake. Mobile Alder Lake, I am not a fan. I do want to try an i7 though. But at least the Alder Lake i5s, not a fan of. The i3, I've been seeing some i3s at some really compelling price points that I would almost be tempted to pick one up just to try it out. My favorite gaming franchise. Ooh, that's a tough one. Cause like, which ones do I sink the most hours into? Probably Civilizations. Like, Civilizations is one of those games where it's actually just digital crack. Like, I end up playing that a lot. Because, like, part of me wants to say Fallout, but it's really New Vegas that I love so much. And, like, the rest of the Fallout series I couldn't say is perfect. I'm trying to think of what else. Because that's another thing, like, when we're talking about franchises here, We got to talk about like having a consistent good experience with them to like really consider it like my favorite. And a lot of the franchises that I love have been ruined at some point. Like if you had asked me like this in like 2015 or something, I would have said Mass Effect. But after Mass Effect 3, I really can't say that it's one of my favorites. Same with like Dragon Age. Like I really like Dragon Age, but Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition are kind of rough. Like there's a lot of individual games that I absolutely adore. But franchise, it's hard to keep consistent. Call of Duty, I think, is one of the most consistent ones. Just because like the formula for its like campaigns and stuff like that is one that's very hard to mess up, really. I think they've had some duds for sure. But it's one of the franchises that has been going on for a very long time and has remained, at least for the most part, consistent. But in general, I would probably say that Civilizations is my favorite. Just because I've yet to play a Civilizations game where I'm like, I don't like this. Ooh, Tomb Raider is also a really solid one. I wasn't the biggest fan of the older Tomb Raider games, though. But the new ones, though, the new ones are really good. Ooh, you know what's a good series, actually? The Hitman series. In general, I think the Hitman games have a formula that has actually, like, held up really well. Because, like, you could go and play, like, Hitman Blood Money and stuff like that and, like, still have a good gaming experience out of that. I mean, listen. The Battlefield series did it to itself. Yeah, I think that the Assassin's Creed series has just way too many like different games and like a lot of them not being super great. Yeah, the Hitman games are just consistently good. Consistently good. Because even like Absolution and stuff like that, those were still solid games. Yeah, honestly, because like I don't think the Battlefield was doing too bad. Like, I liked Battlefield 5. I liked Battlefield 1. But then, like, they got really weird with 2042. And they also already had some, like, weird ones. Like, Hardline was a weird one. Like, Battlefield always just seemed to be going through a weird identity crisis. Far Cry is another one of those series where they have just so many and like some like side games that just aren't as good. Because like Far Cry 5 was alright. New Dawn was just essentially Far Cry 5 again. Then, you know, you have Far Cry 4 which was decent. But then you had like what was the name of like the primitive one? Yeah, like I tried to play Battlefield 2042 again recently just to try it out because, you know, like as part of the Game Pass I get the EA Play thing and I still have like essentially like a few like free hours on it because like you get like I think 10 hours to play like brand new EA games and I have not even used that for the Battlefield 2042 because it's just not enjoyable. Yeah, Hardline was weird because like it was also just like a completely different studio that did it. Because it was like, I think it was Visceral, like the people that did like Dead Space. And like it was mostly just focused on like the single player story and stuff like that, which was like nothing special. So overall, it was a weird game. Weird game. Oh yeah, Far Cry Primal. Yeah, Primal, cool setting. I wish they would have actually used the new map. It was literally just the Far Cry 4 map. and it became very obvious because if you played a crap ton of Far Cry 4, then it became very obvious that you were just in the same location as before. Oh yeah. Yeah, the GTA trilogy, I'm surprised that it actually launched in the state that it was in. Like, I saw the memes about it before I even saw any gameplay, and I thought people were just like joking, like it was like edited images. I thought people were just like exaggerating how bad it was, but no, it was that bad. Yeah, like that was just mind-blowing to me. And like people keep asking me like to test it out, but I don't want to buy it. You know what I mean? I don't want to give them money for that. Yeah, I would say that my favorite Far Cry, probably Far Cry 3. Because Far Cry 3 to me almost feels like what Far Cry 1 was like in my kid's brain. You know, like it's hard to explain, but like what I would imagine Far Cry 1 to have been, I think Far Cry 3 was. You had this gigantic map, the graphics were absolutely stunning, the story was mind-blowingly good.
Me inside your head now.
I have like looked into very little about Stray. I thought it was a cat simulator, so I had like very little interest in it. I saw somebody streaming it and I was blown away that there was like a story to it, I think, and there were like bad guys, like these little alien things that jumped on the cat and murdered it. I did not think that that was what Stray was about. Like, I literally thought that it was just gonna be like a cat simulator game. Oh, but in terms of worst Far Cry, for sure, New Dawn. Oh, I saw the trailer for Goat Simulator 3. That actually like was hilarious. Cause it's just a parody of the original reveal trailer for what's it called?
I like crazy.
What's the name of that one game? The zombie one. Dead Island, that's what it's called. Dead Island. Yeah, it was just a parody of the Dead Island 2 trailer, which Dead Island 2 still does not exist. Blows my mind. Like, did you guys ever play Dead Island? Like the original Dead Island? I almost feel like it's like a forgotten game. Because like I remember playing, actually, Dead Island, the original Dead Island was one of the first games that I pirated when I got my first gaming computer, because you know all of my money went into the gaming system itself and I had nothing left to like buy games. So you know, I set the high seas and pretty much got you know, like Dead Island, a bootleg copy of it, played it. It was okay. It was nothing remarkable. It was definitely decent. Oh my god, Splinter Cell is one of those franchises that I weep just disappeared. It was so good. There's no games that do that. There's like no alternatives to Splinter Cell, really. There just isn't. Like, there's a lot of indie stealth games out there, for sure. But in terms of like 3D games where you're like playing an agent and stuff like that, and especially like the what was it, like Spies versus Mercs or whatever like the game mode was, that was so much fun. And honestly, I liked Blacklist. I really did. Like, I thought Blacklist was not a bad game. Like, I think it definitely got a bad rap.
Regret. Catchy. Any idea what it means?
Dear humanity, we regret
I mean,
being
Ubisoft just has so
handicapped.
many franchises that like I'm surprised they never like did anything else with them.
Regret is a name, Sergeant. The name
I
of one of the
think
Covenant's
that
religious
they
leaders
just did not
prophet.
find a
Combat
way to like
carrier,
translate it
slowly
into like the
repel
modern style of games that they do. Because like I mean, think back to all of those old Tom Clancy franchises and how many of them are actually still around, and if they're still around, how many are even remotely close to what they used to be. Because, you know, you play Rainbow Six Siege, and Six Siege is a good game. I'm not saying it's a bad game, but it's not a Rainbow Six game. Because you play an old school Rainbow Six game, and it's a whole different style of game. They had to adapt Rainbow Six into something that fit in with the current gaming landscape. And they did the exact same thing with with Ghost Recon. Wildlands was essentially like fitting into that open world style of theirs, and pretty much like I liked Wildlands, but it also wasn't a Ghost Recon game really, because Ghost Recon did not play like that at all. Actually, we're gonna play this one with the old graphics. Yeah, honestly, like I think like a lot of these companies would be better off just hiring random fans to do like, you know, just to pitch ideas, because it has to be better than whoever they have internally that's doing that. Infinity Ward making an action RPG game. Is it within the Call of Duty franchise, or is it like their own IP? Because I would be so shocked if Activision is actually letting Infinity Ward, of all people, out of like the Call of Duty making slave mines. Because like I mean, like they have those like people just working non-stop on Call of Duty for like what, like almost 2 decades now. Like kind of crazy how long Call of Duty's been around, and especially as a yearly franchise. I mean, I hope it's good. Because, like, Infinity War, I think, has made some of my favorite Call of Duty campaigns. Like, easily. Like, I like the... Like, I think in terms of Call of Duty campaigns, I would probably go Modern Warfare 2 as the best one. Black Ops as number 2. Call of Duty 4 as number 3. I would probably say those are my top 3 in terms of Call of Duty campaigns. But I think in general, Infinity Ward just makes better Call of Duty campaigns. Like, I like Black Ops 1, but I think Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3 are noticeably worse than, like, the rest of the Modern Warfare franchise. All right, sounds good. I know, like, Activision actually used to, like, make old school, like, 007 games, and a lot of them were essentially just, like, made on the Call of Duty engine, which the Call of Duty engine is literally just the Quake engine modified.
We got jackals in the courtyard.
And, like, I mean, like, those old 007 games weren't exactly amazing, but they were really good in terms of just, like, being, like, more Call of Duty than anything else. No, Civilizations is more like a turn-based, like, it's a turn-based, like, empire management game. While Age of Empires is more of an RTS, like, more in the style of, like, StarCraft and things like that. Like, Civilizations is definitely, like, slower paced, and, like, you're definitely going to be playing games, like, for hours on that. Like, there is no such thing as, I'm going to play a quick game of Civilizations. A quick game of Civilizations is, like, 30 hours. Like, it's one of those games that will eat up all of your time. Like, if you want to know what, like, my high school experience was, for most of it at least, it was just come home, play Dota 2 or play Civilizations 5 until I just died. You know, like, as a person, just, like, pass out at my desk. Like, I was just so hooked on those games. Like, if it wasn't for the fact that I had to go to school, I don't think I ever would have socialized with anybody because of the fact that I was just playing Civilizations and Dota 2 nonstop. You pretty much are just running your empire. You'd be so surprised how it eats up all your time, because you think, like, how do you just sit there for 30 hours? And, like, when you're playing it, those 30 hours feel like 5 minutes. It is literally crack as a video game. It's one of those things where, like, if you're someone that has, like, a job and responsibility and, like, things like that, I don't recommend you play Civilizations. Because it will just consume your life. If it's the type of game that you like. Because for sure it's one of those games where it's an acquired taste for most people. But I do think that it's overall pretty solid. And, like, it's even deadlier when you're playing with friends, because it does have multiplayer. But playing it multiplayer, it means that the games take even longer, because now every single person you're playing with has to have a turn instead of just having the AI do their turn really quickly. So you just, like a game that would normally be like 30 hours is now suddenly a like 80 to like 150 hour game that you now have to manage between a group of people. It's almost like playing D&D. Like it's a game where it's just like, it's incredible when you can actually play it, but like you can't really afford to like spend that much time playing the game. Like even now I limit how much I play Civilizations dramatically. Because, like, I mean, if I could, I would probably be playing Civilizations right now. I mean, realistically, I'd probably be playing Monster Hunter, but before going to bed, I would play a bit of Civilizations. And by a bit of Civilizations, I mean sit there for 2 hours and then just, like, be practically falling asleep. And then finally, begrudgingly going to bed. Yeah, like, it's not even like a mission thing. It's literally just the whole game. The whole game. Like, it's almost like, imagine you're playing like a digital board game. That's essentially how it is. It's a digital board game. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of the board game Risk, but it's similar to that. Like, you're essentially just managing an empire. It's like turn-based, so each player like gets a turn to like move their units around and like, you know, like build things in like their cities and stuff like that. You go around, like, it depends on like the type of victory condition that you're going for, because, you know, you could win just based off of science, based off of culture, based off of like just having like a crap load of money. You can just go to war with people. Like, it's definitely a fun and addicting game, but it's not a very high input type of game. Oh god, these guys. And then I don't even have ammo.
Stand back, Marine. Let the chief show you how it's done.
Never mind, they died so quickly. Wow.
Second squad, this is Cortana.
They did not send their best.
We're operational, ma'am. Barely. Our pilots didn't make it.
Find a hole, stay put. We'll come to you.
Yeah, that's the thing. If like you can't sit there and play one game for too long, then it's definitely not the type of game. And like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of games out there that are way quicker paced. And like, I definitely love finding games where I could just jump in and like play really quickly without having to like worry too much, you know? Dead Space 2 for sure. For sure, Dead Space 2. Like, I have a soft spot for Dead Space 1 just because it was one of the first Steam games that I actually ever played. But Dead Space 2, I think, hit the right balance of action and horror that, like, I think got lost with 3. Because, like, you play Dead Space 1 and it feels very much more like a sci-fi Resident Evil, while you play Dead Space 2 and it feels like it's a franchise that understands itself and like has found its own. And then they just immediately drop the ball with the third one. Yeah, the hunters are absolutely the worst. I'm surprised that machine gun just ate right through them, though. Like, if I did not have that machine gun, I would have been so dead. I actually don't think I've ever even seen that machine gun there. Yeah, I don't like a lot of horror games. It's funny because I don't necessarily get scared as much as, like, a lot of the horror in a lot of games is like building suspense for jump scares and stuff like that. And I don't find jump scares to be scary. Like, I like games that build atmosphere. When you build atmosphere, that's when I'm sucked in. Like Resident Evil 7 scares me more than a game like Outlast. Because Outlast, a lot of it is built off of like jump scares, while Resident Evil 7, like it just builds up this tension as you're just walking around this house. And like the sound design is just so good that it's just building up this atmosphere. Like, I have a love-hate relationship with horror games. Because like I hate jump scares for the sake of jump scares, you know? Like, it's not enjoyable for me. Hold up, I gotta respond to a text message. All right, I'm good to move. Yeah, Resident Evil 4 easily. Resident Evil 2 is also a really good one, but 4 is the one that I first played and like I fell in love with. It was just so good. I played it on the PlayStation 2. I have fond memories of having my friend come over because it was actually his game. And like he brought it, got to play it. And man, it was just so good. It like blew my mind because like up until then I was only like playing like Call of Duty games and like Quake and stuff like that. Like it was like the first time I played a game that was like story driven where I was like, whoa, this is actually like super good. Yeah, Resident Evil 7, like it blew my mind how good it ended up being, really. Cuz like I like 6 because it's so bad. You know, like I don't like Resident Evil 6 because I think it's a good game. I think that it's a bad game that was executed so poorly that it ended up being good. Like if you play it with some friends, you can have some fun. But outside of that, it was like a over-bloated, overproduced game for sure. And like then out of nowhere 7 comes out and ends up being way better than anything you would have expected, especially as a follow-up to 6. Because 6 felt like the natural progression from where we were going from, you know, like 5. Because 5 felt like a pretty big departure from where we were at from 4. So 5 just felt like, okay, 6 feels like it built off of where we were at from 5. Yeah, exactly. It was just a straight up action game, very similar to what like the 5th game also was. The 5th game, there was hardly any horror in it at all. I would argue that there was no horror. But I know that people's definition of horror can be different. But in general, I really would be surprised to find anyone that finds like the 5th game, Resident Evil 5, to actually be scary. Like, it just feels like 6 was like an evolution of where we were going from with 5. And then out of nowhere, 7 comes out, and it's incredible in terms of being a horror game. Like, incredible. It's like they went from like not understanding what the hell atmosphere is or subtlety to suddenly developing this game that has like, it builds up so much tension. Like, walking around the house as soon as you first get there is such a memorable gaming experience specifically because of the fact that like they build the tension so perfectly. Like, I still hold Resident Evil 4 to be my favorite, but 7 really honestly took the franchise to a direction that I did not think that it would end up going back to. Or I guess saying going back to is also misleading, because the Resident Evil franchise has always had this air of goofiness to it. I mean, if you play like the OG games, like the tone of them and everything, because of the fact that the voice acting was just cheaper quality and the animations were cheaper quality, it had like this goofy aspect to it. And like the remasters, I think, have captured a perfect tone of like seriousness while retaining a lot of the fun aspects of Resident Evil. But it's just surprising the direction that like 7 and 8 ended up going, where it's like, no, these are like straight up like actual like horror adventure games. And horror adventure games are kind of hard to do, because a lot of horror games end up being walking simulators where you don't do much of anything, because as soon as you give a player the ability to fight back, a lot of the horror is removed. You need to really understand how to develop horror to actually make it like work well with combat. And I think Resident Evil like has that advantage of they know how to do that.
The highest concentration of Covenant troops is directly below.
It depends on what you mean by worse. In terms of GPU performance, they're going to be very comparable. Very, very comparable. Like, the CPU performance difference is going to be noticeable, especially if we're talking about lower TDPs. Like, if you're somebody that wants to use your system at the stock TDP, there is some merit to going with the 5825. But if we're talking about raising the TDP and all of that, like 25 watts to 25 watts, the performance difference is going to be very minuscule. Now, there are going to be certain titles that will benefit from the newer Ryzen 7. Specifically games like Valorant, like CSGO and stuff like that, that are like more bound by the CPU than the GPU. You will actually see some performance uplift. But those games already run really well on the 5700U anyway. We're just talking about maximum FPS. So if you're someone that's using an external monitor, then going with the 5825U might be a solid move. But if you can get a 5700U for a cheap enough price, I really don't see it as like a bad move to get that over the 5825U. Because like that's still really good performance. And like again, the GPU is going to be very similar. Very, very similar. Like pretty much identical. Like there was no GPU upgrade or anything like that. Well, if you already have a 5700U, there's no reason to upgrade. I would wait it out until like at least the next generation. Whatever is going to be the replacement of the 5825U. Wait, what? What do you mean you're married? Like, who are you saying that to? If you just play Asphalt 9, then there's no reason for you to upgrade. There really isn't. I would just wait it out another generation. Or two, honestly. Because, like, if you're playing that, like, I mean, are you getting bad for like, performance right now?
I don't think they want you to get on board. That bridge is the most direct route to the city center.
Because, like, I can't imagine that Asphalt is going to be performing badly. Because, like, I mean, that's like a mobile game that has, like, essentially, like, a PC port. I would be shocked if it's, like, going to perform badly. Yeah, no, then you're perfectly fine. Like, there's literally no reason to upgrade. Once RDNA 2 starts to hit cheap systems, then I would be like, okay, it's time to upgrade. But as it stands right now, you're pretty much paying money to get the exact same level of performance in most games. Yo, buddy, hop on. Hop on. Okay, don't hop on then. Ooh, he got absolutely pancaked there. That is rough, buddy. Where's your gun? Ah. Ah, god damn it. Okay.
The highest concentration of Covenant troops is directly below the carrier. I don't think they want you to get on board. That bridge is the most direct route to the city center.
Oh man, I love the beach.
I hope you packed a suit, mate.
Everybody's mounted in. No, I didn't mean to jump out.
Spotted another one. Hoo-ha! Well done, Marines.
That's solid performance. What were the 1% lows? Like, were they decent? Because that would be like the only thing I would worry about in Metro Exodus at the 15-watt TDP. Because the 15-watt TDP really just seems to like affect the 1% lows more than anything else.
Yeah, nailed that ghost. Got another hostile.
Come on, gun him down. Gun him down. Come on, you know he's back there. Right, jumping out. Yeah, I really don't like to play AAA games like that at 720p if I can avoid it. Like, I would rather play an older title at 1080p full resolution with higher graphic settings than just forcing myself to play a newer title at like 720p with the lowest possible settings. Like, I can just wait. I don't need to play like games like that, especially single player games. I can definitely wait on playing those. You know, there's single player games from like 10 years ago that I bought that I still have not played because I have not gotten around to it. It's one of those things where it's like I'm not like in a big hurry to play a lot of these games. Of course, it's different for games that are like live services because you kind of need either play them now or you're probably never going to be able to play them. But at least for single player games, I really am very, very patient when it comes to playing them. Very, very patient. Because you can save a lot of money by doing that too. And you don't even need to wait very long. Like a lot of brand new games when they launch, they'll be like 60, 70 US dollars. You wait like 3 months and they're already down to like 40 bucks. You wait 6 months and it's already down to like 30. And then you wait a year and you'll somehow find it on sale for like 20 bucks.
You can run, but you can't hide.
And then if you're just willing to wait a few more years, you'll get it real cheap. Yeah, Far Cry 6, especially if you're using FSR, you can actually get really nice performance out of it. It's just FSR does look pretty brutal on it. But I am not the biggest fan of Far Cry 6, in all honesty. It is one of my least favorite Far Cry games. Like, that and New Dawn really have just disappointed me. It's why, like, I'm like at this point just I don't know what I want out of a Far Cry game, really. Like, I don't know if I'm just bored of the Far Cry formula or what, but 6 just did not hit for me. It just really didn't. I did not like it as much as I was hoping I would. I think a lot of it does have to do with the fact that the color palette of it was just like why did I want the whole screen to have this piss yellow filter? Borderlands 2 you could get to play pretty decently. Like, in general, the game has performance issues. It was not the most well optimized game. But if you're willing to drop down like 720p PvP in particular, you can get solid levels of performance, like really, really solid. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt, because I did like the story of 5. I hated certain aspects of 5 though. Like I hated the whole like you're just driving around and then suddenly you get fucking tranquilized by like, I don't know, some flowers, I guess. Like it was just out of nowhere that you would just get hunted and just taken, and like all of that was annoying because you would just be in the middle of just doing something and then suddenly you're just being kidnapped. Welcome back. We're just talking about how awful the Far Cry franchise has become. At least to me. Because, like, I liked 5. I liked 5. There were certain aspects of it that annoyed me, but in general, I liked it. But 6 and New Dawn, I was not a fan of those. In particular, just because like the stories are just pretty lame in comparison. Like I like 5 because I love stories about cults. I love them. Absolutely love them. I think part of it has to do with the fact that I live in the South in the United States, and there are cults all over the place. All over the place. So it always fascinates me to see stories related to them, you know? Yeah, I would agree. It's a suffering franchise. Yeah, I think 2 is honestly a solid game. Like, I think people that say it's bad look at it from the perspective of we had this amazingly beautiful, vibrant island with the first game. And obviously, I mean, beauty is like subjective considering the fact that it's ancient at this point. But when it came out, it was incredible looking. We had this beautiful, vibrant island, and then suddenly we got sent into this brown and just gray, like Sahara. And I think for a lot of people, like that was just such a huge juxtaposition that they just immediately were like, I don't like the second game. You know, like it's different. Things are different. It looks different. It like plays differently. I'm not a fan. But I think that 2 laid a lot of the groundwork of what the franchise became. And honestly, you play 2 now and it holds up. It holds up way better than the first one. I am not hyped at all for Crysis 4. I really am not. Crytek has been a disaster in terms of management that I am not going to put any expectations at all into any of their work. Like, I think the only thing that Crytek has going for it that I think is actually good is Hunt Showdown. I actually really like Hunt Showdown. I really, really like it, but Crysis 3 was okay. But like in general, I think that the Crysis franchise has just gone a weird direction, especially because Crysis 1 was pretty solid, but even then, story-wise, it was nothing incredible. So it's just one of those things where I'm not going to get hyped for it. If it turns out to be good, amazing, fantastic. Because I love me some single-player, like just single-player FPS games I'm a big fan of. So if it ends up being good, I'm happy, but I'm going to go in with bottom of the barrel expectations. Just bottom of the barrel. And I think that's a good position to be in when it comes to anything related to Crytek. Because if tomorrow Hunt Showdown turned out to just be an absolute disaster out of nowhere, I don't think that would be the most surprising thing. You know? Like if it just out of nowhere became terrible, it's just like, well, yeah, that's Crytek for you. Because like they really, really mismanaged the hell out of their games. Wait, which one is 2942? Is that the futuristic Battlefield game? Because I know that they had one that was like in the future. I remember very little of it though because I didn't own it, but a friend did. I remember it had like this thing called Titan mode, which was just insane to play. Oh, okay. Yeah, 2042. Yeah, that one was terrible. I think that 2042 though is like a uniquely terrible situation because like you play it and it becomes very obvious that it was not originally intended to be a normal Battlefield game. Like it feels like we're playing a battle royale that was then just reworked to just be a normal Battlefield game, and like the battle royale aspects of it tainted the rest of it. Like it did not feel like it had a solid idea on what kind of game it wanted to be. And like I think that the thing that has made that the most obvious is the fact that the way that like pretty much DICE has responded to the backlash and just the fact that the game has bombed. I think that in general, like, I mean, their campaigns in general weren't amazing. Like, I'm not a big fan of the Battlefield campaigns at all. Personally, I think that they're just a worse version of Call of Duty campaigns. Like, I think that in general, they just had a really, really bad idea for what they wanted to do with the game. Like, it did not feel like it had a solid core idea, and I think that the way that DICE has responded to the criticism shows that. Because, like, any functional company that had, like, a solid idea would have at least, at this point, talked about what's going on, what their plans were, what the roadmap is. They have been absolutely silent as the game has just dropped in terms of population and have not done anything to reassure the community about anything. And that makes me feel like they probably are also not sure what to do with the game. And that's a really, really bad sign. It's a really bad sign, not just for Battlefield 2042, but I think it's a bad sign for DICE in general. That, like, they aren't able to handle a flop in their flagship franchise well at all. Because then, what is the next Battlefield game going to be? You know, like, is that why we're not seeing any, like, major updates or anything? Like, are they just, like, at this point rethinking their whole Battlefield strategy? What's going on? Like, there is no dialogue with the fan base. And, like, that lack of dialogue makes me feel like they are just not confident in what they have going on with 2042 right now. I mean, Destiny got bought out by PlayStation, so it's like it's now a part of the PlayStation family. Titanfall, unfortunately, suffered from the success of Apex Legends. You know, like, Apex Legends ended up being such a huge, massive success, considering the fact that the Titanfall franchise wasn't exactly a huge seller. It just, overall, the Titanfall franchise, I mean, I hear that they're making a third one, that they're working on that, but who knows? Because so far, Respawn at this point is currently working on a new Star Wars game. You know, like the sequel to Fallen Order. Outside of that, I think they're also working on, like, maybe Titanfall 3. Or it might just be another game set in the Titanfall Apex Legend, you know, like, universe. Yeah, like, Apex Legends takes place in the Titanfall universe. It pretty much, like, uses a lot of the same mechanics and stuff like that. Like, Titanfall was the building block off of Apex. And honestly, it's not too dissimilar to the situation that ended up happening with Fortnite, because I don't know if a lot of you guys know this, but Fortnite originally was not a battle royale game. It was a like sandbox zombie survival game with like crafting elements and stuff like that. I mean, if you play the Save the World game mode in Titan, or not Titanfall, but in Fortnite, that is the OG version of it. I actually remember the E3 when Fortnite got announced. Like I remember when like Titanfall or Fortnite got announced, and it was supposed to just be a completely different game. It disappeared for a few years. It came out in like early access for like beta stuff, and then out of nowhere they added in the battle royale game mode, and it just took over the world. And you know, the Save the World edition, like the single player stuff, got really sidelined because, you know, the battle royale was way more popular. What's IGI? I have no idea what IGI is.
The Covenant must be trying to regroup. Don't let them.
What kind of game is it? Like, is it like a Doom style FPS game, or like what style of game is it like? Because like the 2000s has like a wide variety of different like FPS styles. Because like I think that was like the era where first person shooters were really starting to like figure out what their identity is like. Interesting. Call of Duty before Call of Duty. You know, there's like a lot of like old school like games like that I've just never played. Like, man, that was a golden age of video games, really, because like you could just find like the weirdest little gems out of nowhere. I mean, I think that we're back to being in a golden age of video games, really. Like, we really are. Like, yeah, things like games as a service sucks. And like microtransactions suck, and the fact that games will come out broken and just never get patched sucks. But we are having such a huge indie boom that we probably have not even seen since like the PlayStation 2 era, where like small developers can actually make games that make enough money to like have at least some form of success. And even back then, in like what we consider to be the golden age, these developers still had to go through publishers, you know? So like now they're way more independent. They can like make the games that they actually want to make. And like if you're somebody that plays indie games, there's a lot of really good games out there. A lot of really good ones. Like there's just so much good stuff out there now. Like so much good stuff. And like there's some crazy games that are just made by one person. Wait, which game is Bright Memory? Bright Memory Infinite sounds familiar. Oh, yeah, I know that game. That's like, it's like a little like indie game that like has like kind of insane graphics for what it is. Like I think it like uses like RTX graphics and all that. It was probably like I think one of the first games to like fully utilize all of that stuff. I've never like gotten it. I think after owning like a 2070 Super now for a few years, like I've never really played an RTX game besides Metro like the Metro Enhanced Edition. Like I think in general, like most games that have like RTX like ray tracing and all of that, are just not games that I would really play. Or like the games that do have it, I just would not enable it. Really, that's actually really good performance, especially considering that it's supposed to have like really solid graphics. Now, obviously, it's not gonna like have like RTX features or anything like that. But still, I mean, if it's a playable game, that's really solid, especially because I think it goes on sale really cheap. You know, I did not know that the developers of Payday 2 made like a World War II themed game that is essentially just Payday 2. It's called Raid World War II. Like a friend suggested it, and like we you know bought it because like I think during the Steam sale it was like maybe $3. It was like $3 to $5. It was like super cheap. Ended up just buying it, and like it was honestly really great. Like, I mean, it's Payday just in a World War II scenario.
50 cal, rockets.
So, like, overall, solid enough gameplay. Nothing too special, but for, like, $5, that was really fun. It was made by one single person. See, I love that. I love that so much. I love, like, those indie games that are just made by one singular person. And, like, they just publish it themselves. All of the money from the game just goes to them. There's no like corporation there that's just taking their cut just because they feel entitled to it.
Son of a bitch, dumb enough to get between him and the profit of regret. Pull yourself together, because you're going with it.
What about that scout?
We've all run the simulations. They're tough, but they ain't invincible. Stay with the Master Chief. He'll know what to do.
Yes, sir, Sergeant.
Thanks for the tank. B never gets me anything.
Oh, I know what the ladies like.
But yeah, like I love seeing like indie games and stuff like that that are just made by one singular person. I mean, Stardew Valley is pretty much that, just made by one person, and Stardew Valley is like the greatest game ever. Like, Stardew Valley is one of those games where you play when you just want to get your girlfriend into video games. It really is. It's just like, it's such a good introduction to like normies to video gaming.
Take it out. Move up, Marines. That goes for dead.
Honestly, I really like the 2070 Super. There's very few games that I've played where I'm like, man, I wish I had something more powerful. But just in general, most of the games that I play on my day-to-day life just aren't super demanding. Like, I don't tend to play a lot of super new titles or anything like that. And I play at 1440p, but like I mean, the last few games that I've been playing, like I've been playing Valorant with my friends, and Valorant is running at like 80,000 FPS, to the point where it doesn't even matter in terms of performance. And like, again, I'm playing at 1440p. And I'm able to play it perfectly fine there. Like, sometimes I want to get like a 3080, but like I genuinely don't need it for the games that I'm playing. Like, realistically, I just don't. Like, I'm to the point now where I get more enjoyment out of games that aren't even that demanding than I do from like brand new super demanding titles. Yo, why can this not move forward? Okay. Like, the nicest thing about having the 2070 Super is having access to DLSS. Yeah, literally the same for me. Like, Metro Exodus Enhanced Edition was like the first thing that I played where I was like, okay, this is baller shit. You know, like, this is like actually revolutionary. But outside of that, most of the time I'm just playing like older titles. Like, I thought I was gonna play Cyberpunk, but I played it a bit, and I'm not a fan of Cyberpunk. I really am not. Like, it's so linear, man. It's so linear compared to just like playing like The Witcher. It's almost crazy like how like much worse Cyberpunk really plays compared to just The Witcher 3. The Arrow 13 is fine if you're going to be playing it at stock, but raising the TDP actually does get the temperatures really high. Because it's a small laptop. I mean, it's a 13-inch display. Like, it is very compact. It does not have a very robust cooling system. At the stock 15-watt TDP, the level of performance that you get is really rock solid, though. Really, really good. I mean, it's my favorite laptop. It's the one I use every day. Like, every day. It is my daily use laptop. Like, I absolutely love it, but it's because I'm willing to sacrifice some performance for portability. Because, honestly, carrying around a 15-inch laptop nowadays is just, it's way too much work for me. Way too much work. Like, carrying around this HP Pavilion 15 actually feels like a hassle compared to the Arrow 13. Like, this I could just chuck in a bag. It's not going to make things much heavier. I can take it with me super easily, and the battery life on it is solid enough that I won't really have to worry about it. And if I really want to go crazy with battery life, I can always use the AMD APU tuning utility to drop the TDP down to like drop it down to just 8 watts and still get really solid CPU performance. Yeah, I think a lot of like modern game design is just kind of like everybody's copying everybody to the point where everything kind of just feels the same. Like, a lot of these games kind of just like borrow so much from each other that they all kind of just feel the same. There's not like much unique aspects of them. And also, I mean, like, these are franchises that like at this point are old enough that you probably have a lot of nostalgia for them, you know? I mean, I know I'm like that with a lot of like franchises. Wow, I'm getting absolutely destroyed in this area. Leave me alone. As long as I can take out the big boys, I think I'm good. Got it. Nice. Yeah, those Banshees were absolutely brutal. I probably should have just destroyed them first. But these big guys, I was worried about them just ripping me to shreds because I was already flaming. But yeah, I think a lot of those franchises, they're just old enough now that like nostalgia is probably carrying you pretty far. Because a lot of these franchises don't change too much, and it's like, okay, you're gonna have fond memories of the older ones because you played them, but like the newer stuff being kind of just the same thing with a new coat of paint kind of just gets boring. Because like fundamentally speaking, there are aspects of Far Cry 6 that are just overall better than 3. It's just that the setting is boring, the story is boring, the gameplay is the same thing that we've been just playing for like ages now. In general, it doesn't do anything remarkable. Wow, did they really just yoink that? I was about to hop on. Well, that's rough. It literally just left without me. Out here just trying to take all the glory. I'm gonna yoink that ride. Well, I guess I can't really go forward here. At least not with it. Actually, wait, we could switch over to the 25-watt TDP and actually see if that will improve any performance here. Yeah, I mean, that's how it is, because, like, better hardware isn't going to make games, like, inherently better, you know? Actually, like, let's switch over to the remastered graphics. How long do you think vanilla 16,000 series will be commercially available? Affordable? Well, I mean, it's currently not affordable. Right now, it is not affordable. I don't think that we should expect it to be affordable until 7,000 series launches and the 6,000 series essentially gets relegated to the bottom of the barrel of the product stack. Unless AMD is going to do something super devious, like keeping Vega around even longer to fill out the bottom of the product stack. If they do that, I'm going to be very upset. But I don't think that any of us should expect like cheap like 16,000 series systems until 7,000 series is out. I don't think that, like, AMD knows that they have something unique and special there, and they're going to milk it for as long as they can. Like, they lucked out really hard with GPU prices being ridiculous. At this point, GPU prices are dropping like enough that it's making these APUs look really, really not appealing at their price points currently. But that's after almost a year of being launched in the market. A year. And like, they have not been readily available, and all the systems that do have it are still grossly expensive. So overall, 6,000 series, not really a cheap option right now. I don't expect it to be a cheap option until it's replacing the 5600 and 5625U and the 5825U. So sometime next year, maybe. And that's if availability is even there. Because we are talking about nodes that are in very high demand from TSMC. I mean, just how many people are going to be on 5 nanometer next year? Yeah, I mean, Intel has this huge advantage in terms of the fact that they own their own fabs. So they're able to actually manufacture their own chips. They're not limited by a company like TSMC. I mean, they are to a certain aspect, since TSMC is making their GPUs. But their GPUs are not a big market compared to like the APUs, well, quote unquote APUs, because that's what all Intel like CPUs are. They're APUs. They all have like iGPUs in them. And pretty much Intel has the benefit of just having this massive amount of like manufacturing capacity that they're able to actually utilize to just flood the market, where even if they don't have the best products, because they don't, besides like high performance Alder Lake, and it's even still questionable there because of power consumption, but even though they don't have the best products, it doesn't matter when their products are the only ones available, because AMD just cannot produce enough chips to meet demand, and Intel just can. Like, that is like the biggest advantage that, you know, Intel has that no one really ever talks about, and that's just the fact that they have massive production capacity, because they're just making their own chips. They're not making chips from anyone else yet. Like, they do have their custom foundry stuff, but like the customers that they have are very limited, and most of their capacity is just dedicated to themselves. So like, especially in like, you know, like more developing markets like India, Intel is just going to be very competitively priced a lot of the time because of the fact that they are just available. They're available, you can actually get them, and that's something you can't say about AMD. You just really can't. And like, that's the biggest problem that AMD has, in the sense that they are suffering from their own success. they are making like chips that are just so good that everybody wants them, that no one can get them. And like, I mean, if you need a computer right now for school, what are you going to do? Are you going to wait for like one day for AMD chips to be magically available so that you can buy a system for school? Or are you just going to buy whatever is available at your price point, whether it's AMD or Intel? You're more than likely just going to go with whatever is available because you need it for school. This isn't like just like something for, you know, pleasure or joy that you can just, you know, wait out a little bit. If you need something for school, if you need it for work, if you need it for anything like that, I mean, it's there. Intel is there for you. In general, I would just say go with AMD, but like in a lot of places, that's just not an option. And like, I don't really see a solution for that for AMD, really. They're kind of just in that spot where they're beholden to TSMC. And like, I mean, at this point, everybody is. Everybody's manufacturing on TSMC. Everybody. So like, it's a rough spot because if we want 6000 series, we're just in a rough situation. Yeah, I mean, like that's the situation that everybody's in, especially as we get closer and closer to like back to school shopping season. Everybody just wants, you know, like these better chips, you know, because like there's a lot of like techie people out there that like, you know, their parents are going to buy them laptops to go off to college for the first time. And they want something good. They want something that's going to be great, going to give them good battery life, is going to be portable enough that they can take to school. And it's going to give them good performance because at the end of the day, even if you're in college, you're not a machine. You know, you want to have some entertainment. You want to be able to game. And 6000 series is so appealing for that. If I was a college student right now, especially staying at a dorm, I would be just so desperate to get a 6000 series laptop. Really, really, truly. Because it fits everything you would want for a college system. You have the portability, you have the battery life, and you have the performance. You know, like you have the trifecta, and that's something that you very rarely see in like these systems. The place where they screwed you over was just price. And it's just rough. It's rough in general because like I want to recommend, you know, like AMD to everybody, but realistically speaking, if Intel is the only thing you can get, well, I mean, Intel is going to give you more FPS than literally nothing. You know, like getting 40 FPS in a game is better than just getting nothing. Same with just getting 20 FPS in a game. And Alder Lake is good enough, at least in terms of CPU, that I would not like tell somebody to not get it. It's just the iGPU performance is the biggest letdown. Especially if you're going i5. And like, I would want to recommend an i5 to everybody because you don't need an i7. You really don't. Like for day-to-day tasks and stuff like that, an i7 is way overkill. But the problem is that if you want that good GPU, or at least the best GPU you can get from, you know, from like Intel, you're gonna have to go with the i7. And that's just the artificial segmentation that they do. Yeah, I really think that the 5625U is a great deal. You get really great CPU performance. Like okay, Alder Lake has better single core performance. All right. In terms of multi-core, it's not that much better. It's pretty comparable. You're using up way more power with Alder Lake. And in general, the overall gaming experience is just going to be worse. The 5625U is the sweet spot right now in terms of price to performance that I wish more people would like give it a chance. Everybody wants 6000 series, and I get it. 6000 series looks incredible. RDNA 2 is awesome. But it just has so many flaws, you know? It just has so many flaws. Like, just in terms of price point. Like, it just, like, it's so flawed in how, like, they're executing it.
Sir,
Like they're charging so much for it, and like the level of performance that you're getting is like not worth the price. And like that's not to say that like the performance that you're getting out of, you know, 6000 series is bad. It's just you're in price territory where you're better off just getting a gaming system then.
And once again, he caught us completely by surprise when his forces arrived in orbit and on the ground. Vladimir is responsible for over 1 billion total casualties and the loss of at least 7 human planets. His forces have defeated all UNSC counterattacks at the cost of 123 fleet vessels and over 23,000 personnel. And now with Reach lost, ONI and UNSC strategic AI report a 0% confidence that the Navy can stop Vladimir through traditional means. In the opinion of this investigator...
Just skip all of this. Oh, that was just like a message thing?
Sergeant Banks, ma'am. He's up top. Come on, I'll show you.
Will somebody give me their gun? Thank you.
When I asked for reinforcements, I didn't think they'd send a Spartan. We got trouble.
Wait. The thing's still down there? Oh, I want it. I want to use it. Jesus Christ.
Marines, time to kill off the scarab.
Yeah, and like I don't understand why anybody would like end up going with 6000 series over just a Zephyrus. Because like at least you're gonna be able to like get really solid gaming performance at that point. You know, like it's gonna be really good gaming performance. And like that's what's so weird about the pricing that they have right now. They're like at these premium tiers, but like you can get already some relatively thin laptops, relatively small laptops that have really good performance for not that much money. At least like compared to like what you would be paying for 6000 series. Like an extra $100 essentially will get you like a gaming system that will be better and is relatively the same size. Okay, it's not as light, but you're getting a full gaming system that is going to be more than twice as fast. We're talking about like 3x performance increase at a minimum. Like it's just it's all around weird pricing. Weird pricing. Once 6000 series starts to go under $1,000, then we're talking. Because like there will be better gaming systems obviously still at that price point, but you're sacrificing a lot in those. You're sacrificing battery life, you're sacrificing screen quality, you're sacrificing capacity, you're sacrificing the amount of RAM that you have. In terms of pure gaming performance, the 5600H is going to be better just because it has a higher TDP. And that higher TDP is going to let it actually perform better in gaming. And more than likely, if you're on a system that has a 5600H, it's going to have better cooling. So it will probably be able to sustain that better. But it is one of those things where you're probably going to be on a system with an even lower battery life. In general, though, if you care about pure gaming performance, then it's going to be hard to beat the H. Just because of like that raised TDP. Like if we're talking about like a everyday system, which one would I would take? I would take the 5625U over the H. Just because, like, on a laptop, I personally value battery life more than I value anything else. To an extent, of course. Like, I'm not willing to sacrifice a huge amount of performance just for battery life. But I would rather have, like, a slight decrease in performance and have an overall better battery life than to just, like, fully maximize the hardware that I have and going past, like, its efficiency sweet spot. Because, like, the level of performance that you get out of, like, the 5625U at the stock 15 watt TDP is really solid for, like, how low the TDP is. And, like, the gain that you'll see from going to, like, I think, like, the 45 watt TDP of, like, the H, like, the gain is not going to be as substantial. It is going to level things out, like, your frame times, though. Gonna just skip all of those cutscenes. All right, we're gonna do this one with the old school graphics. And my God, the performance is just so much better. It feels so much nicer to play like this. Like, I mean, I get it, the game doesn't look amazing, but still, the level of performance is good. Oh, Doom Guy, easily. Easily. Oh, wait, these are friendlies. I am so sorry. I apologize. That was my mistake. But yeah, no, Doom Guy easily is better. Master Chief is a victim of his own franchise where, like, over the years, they've just given him too much of a personality while also giving him not enough of a personality. If you get what I mean. Like, if you're going to give me personality to a character and stuff like that, make it at least a likable one instead of just this blank slate. Because, like, Doom Guy doesn't say anything. He just goes in and he kicks ass. That's all you need to know about him, you know? Like, obviously, there's a bit of backstory and all of that, but, like, it's nothing, like, it's nothing too deep, and the games aren't bogged down by it. At this point, the story of, like, the Halo games is just all over the place, you know? Yeah, and, like, that's all I need him to be. That's all I need him to be. I don't need to know his backstory. I don't need to know, like, his origin. I don't need to know nothing. All I need to know is that he is ready to kick ass and take names. And that's it. Meanwhile, Master Chief, he's like, I mean, he's like, he has like a VTuber waifu and all of that. He's just like the most unrelatable person now, you know? Like, my guy is actually in love with a VTuber. I cannot relate. Like, you know it's a problem when Master Chief has more in common with, like, a Twitch chatter than he does, like, anybody else. Like, all of the stuff between him and Cortana has just gotten weird, dude. Weird. And then, of course, there's the TV show that they made. But that's, like, a whole different disaster. But in general, Doom Guy is just, like, the more badass of the two, easily. And not to mention, Doom Guy has just been in better games. Like, I like the Halo games. But there's just something so nice about the Doom games where you just, like, just turning enemies into ground meat is so good. Like, the shotgun in Doom is one of the most satisfying weapons that I've used in a video game ever. God damn, everybody's firing these little crystals. That's exactly what he is. He has Kratos energy. And like that's the thing. Kratos was one of those characters that like they could have gone down the Master Chief route where like, you know, just give him a bit of a personality and like that's it. Like being super lame with it, but like with Kratos, they decided to go like a really strong direction with him where like they gave him a lot of personality instead of, you know, just like half-assing it. And because of that, I mean, I think that the God of War franchise is even stronger for it. And I mean, Kratos has always been like, you know, like a character, you know, he's never been like this blank slate protagonist. It's just that in the older games, like the story really took like a side step to like the gameplay, which I think was fine because I really like the old God of War games. It's just that the new one is just so good. Just so good. And like Doom Guy has a lot of like that energy where it's just like a pure being of revenge. And like, again, that's all I need him to be. I don't need him to be anything more than that. I don't need to hear his tragic backstory, like what happened to him as a child or anything like that, because it's irrelevant to who he is. He is Doom Guy, and he is just there to kick demon ass. My God, these dudes and their needlers are the worst. Leave me alone. Give me your ammo. I do miss a lot of the old like combat mechanics of like the older God of War games. Cause like there was some really like great combo stuff you could do in them. Cause like, you know, they were like more like hack and slash, like crowd control games. So they had a lot of really, really awesome like combo mechanics in them. Stuff that I really, really miss a lot. Wait, which one was God of War Ascension? Hey, that sounds familiar. Oh, that's the prequel one. Oh my God, I have not heard about this one in forever. Yeah, that it just like came and went. It just came and went. I completely forgot about that one. What a weird move. Like, especially because, like, they had to have known the direction they were going with the franchise at that point, right? I mean, well, when did it come out, actually? That might have been, like, a while back. And when did it come out? 2013. Oh, yeah, no, that was actually, like, a good, like, hiatus in terms of, like, the franchise then. That's so surprising that, like, they would like have gone that direction, but I guess it was just so bad that it forced them to go to like a different style of game. I mean, overall, I think that they made the right move. You know, like I don't think that anybody out there is really gonna say that like going towards the direction they went was a bad move. I mean, there's contrarians for everything, obviously. There's gonna be people that are like, oh, I didn't like the 2018 game anywhere near as much as the old ones, or I preferred the old game style and all that. There's always those people, but I think in general, the general consensus is that they made the right move going the way that they did. At least that's the stance that I have. God damn it, I keep shooting friendly. Stop looking the same as the enemies. Do we all get like a team color or something, like a team jersey? Oh, goddamn, that boy thick. Man, grunts are really the original minions. Okay, I deserve to die after that comment. I was hoping to stream longer, but I am already getting very, very tired. Pretty much have just been benchmarking all day. Just because those new AMD drivers, I'm very excited to test. That was pretty much my entire day, just like testing out a bunch of different games. I think I'm going to narrow it down to just 10 for a video though. Just because like I don't want to like overdo it in terms of the amount of games tested. Yeah, honestly, there is literally no reason to know about the backstory to most characters in games. Because, like, I never play a game and think, gee, I wonder what the backstory of this character is. I really got to know what they did 5 years ago. Like, that doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is what's happening now, currently, in the story and what's coming in the future. I don't need filler. You know, I don't need, like, past stuff. So, like, I pretty much... Oh, my God. Were you a friendly? I can never tell, man. I can never tell. Yeah, I still have not played Devil May Cry 5, actually, so I have no idea what was up with that. I mean, I hear people liked it, though. But I do, just in general, prefer new stuff. I hate when they, like, are just filling in backstory stuff. Because, like, I don't need backstory. I just want new things. But I'm one of those people where, like, when it comes to, like I don't fall for nostalgia bait. You know what I mean? Like, everything nowadays is, like, kind of nostalgia bait. It's all trying to, like, feed off of, like, your childhood and just, like, the times when life was happier. So, like, everything is just a remake of something that has already existed, and it's all just trying to, like, be, like, essentially the same thing as, like, old things. And, like, they try to, like, fill out backstory to, like, old characters and stuff like that because, like, you know, fans just seem to like that stuff, but I hate it. I don't like filling out information that is kind of irrelevant to the stories that, like, have already happened, you know? Like, I don't need backstory stuff. I would prefer new things. Like, I'm like that with the Star Wars movies. Like, I don't care about, like, any more of the stuff happening with, like, Luke and Leia and Han and Chewie and all of that. I would have preferred, like, these movies to just have been, like, completely new characters in a whole different, like, time period, completely unrelated to the events that had happened in the previous, like, movies. Give me something fresh, something completely new, something that I haven't seen before. Like, I don't need to see the same characters that I saw 30 years ago, like, just being old. Like, I'd rather just have new stories. Like, I don't respond to, like, nostalgia like that, where it's like, I don't get excited when I see characters that I already saw. I didn't really like the first season of The Mandalorian that much. I think it got really good towards the end, but a lot of the first episodes were very bland. But I think it's just because I don't particularly like the main character of The Mandalorian, because he's such a blank slate. It's like I'm watching a silent protagonist in a video game, but I don't control him, so I'm even more detached from him. And, like, I thought that a lot of the characters in The Mandalorian were a little weird. In, like they had, like, very, like, I would say George Lucas style dialogue, where the characters did not feel like real people as much as they felt like characters. But then the last 3 episodes of The Mandalorian are so good that it pretty much made up for the rest of like the season like being kind of mediocre. Yeah, like they pretty much just like they did like cuz like I never understood the hype for Boba Fett as a character really. Cuz like okay, let's look at the original like the actual like original trilogy. What did Boba Fett do? He stood there looking cool, which to be fair, that's pretty solid. All right, standing there looking cool, that's a pretty nice move. But besides that, he takes Han, but we don't really see him do anything. Like he cryogenically freezes him and takes them. Then we see him in Jabba's palace, just kind of chilling there, also just looking cool. Fair enough. Then he's at like, the Sarlacc pit, gets immediately murked by like Luke and thrown into the pit, and that's it. That is the legacy of my man. He got absolutely destroyed, and like that's it. He just looked cool for some scenes and then got destroyed. He never got a moment to be badass. And yet everyone built up this image in their head of Boba Fett being this cool badass just because he looked cool. And like I think that like Mando is a manifestation of that, where it's just like he represents that like, oh, I think he's cool because he's dark and mysterious, but he's not exactly doing cool things. He's kind of just like, for the most part, just there. In fact, like I feel like in a lot of situations the Mando got his ass kicked, Like it was overall weird. I didn't like find most of the episodes to be that entertaining. But then towards the end, it's like especially when Bill Burr shows up, my God, that man just like because he was the first like actual character that felt like they were a real person and not like a 2D like representation of a character, Like he felt like he had depth to him because he's like he's like a mercenary, so he's kind of a bad guy, but not really. He had charisma to him, so you never really understood where he stood and everything. And that's how a real character is supposed to be, because like people aren't one-dimensional. They have depth to them. So one moment they might be like a good person, and then the next they could just betray you. And like it felt like genuine. Like the way that Bill Burr's character would interact, while every single other person in that team felt like a cartoon character, because like they were just cartoonishly evil. They even looked evil. In Star Wars, like in modern day Star Wars, if your character looks evil, you are evil, and that is it. There is nothing else to you. You are just a bad guy. Like all of the other bounty hunters in that squad turned out to be exactly the way that you pictured them to be, because they were just so one-dimensional. Oh, sweet Jesus. I'll respond to a text real quick. Yeah, like wait, Mayfield, like that's Bill Burr's character, right? Because if so, then yeah, that character was like the first character that I thought was actually good. I have, but I played them on like the Xbox 360. I actually don't own them on PC, and I'm so sad that I don't, because they're just not available anywhere. Because they were so good, man. They were so good. War for Cybertron and all of that was just so good.
The heretics are mobilizing their air forces, officer. Get after their leader, but watch your back. I'm sending one of our phantoms to support you.
But yeah, like those old they're not really old. I consider them old just because they're, you know, from like that older era of consoles, but like those things were great. Yeah, honestly, they were so good. I really wish that they were still available. Like, I don't know why they just like I hate the way that Activision does their games. They like always just end up killing them. Because it was the same with the Deadpool game. Like, the Deadpool game just stopped being available after a while. Like, Activision is just such a cheap-ass company that they, like, refuse to, like, pay for licenses for, like, very long. Like, they'll get the license for a little bit, just enough to sell the game for, like, a couple of years, and then just, like, when the license expires, that's it. They'd rather just, like, let it lapse than renew it. Yeah, Deadpool was a solid game. Solid game. Like, nothing incredible. You know, like, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, this was the greatest game or anything like that. But it was a solid game. You could have a lot of fun with it. And especially because, like, you could find it for super cheap at, like, you know, like, GameStop. Yeah, like, it was just, like, again, nothing incredible, but it was so fun. And the voice acting was great. Did not take itself too seriously. Super enjoyable game that just disappeared out of nowhere. I think I have a friend that has like the Transformer games on his Steam. I wonder if I could borrow his account to try them. On PC, I haven't. I remember playing some old Spider-Man games like on the PlayStation 2. I don't know what Spider-Man games were actually out at that era because it's been a very long time since I've played an actual Spider-Man game. That being said, though, the new one I'm really excited about. Like the one coming to PC, that is like one of the games I'm the most hyped about. Especially like the Miles Morales version. Because Miles is my favorite Spider-Man. Especially like after watching the Spider-Verse movie. Hands down my favorite version of Spider-Man. But like I am very much looking forward to those. Those might actually be like, that might actually be the first full price game that I've bought in years. Like I'm super hyped for it. I genuinely did not think it would ever come to PC. I really didn't. I thought that it was just going to be one of those that was going to remain on consoles forever. I'm really glad that PlayStation is just like bringing all of their games onto PC. Because realistically speaking, those games, I was never going to buy a PlayStation for them anyway. I just wasn't. That was not going to be a move that I was going to make. So at least now they can actually sell me the game. Ultimate Spider-Man. What year is that one from? I know there's just so many Spider-Man games, like so many. It's like hard to like even keep up with them. I mean, Spider-Man is a massive franchise on its own. It really is. Like before Disney turned Marvel into like what it is today, where it's like a media powerhouse. Spider-Man actually used to be the most popular like superhero, and it was worth billions on its own. Like it was Spider-Man on his own was almost as big of a franchise as all of Marvel combined. Nowadays, of course, like Marvel in it of itself is just so massive, but like back then, Spider-Man was massive. 2005, yeah, they've been making Spider-Man games forever. And they've always been popular. They really have. Like, especially like those early like 2000 ones. Like, I might have actually played that one if it was on the PlayStation 2. Yeah, like, because like Spider-Man has always been popular. He really has. Like, I mean, there was a huge cultural shift that ended up happening with the release of like the Iron Man movie. Because like I don't think people remember really that Iron Man used to not be a popular character at all. In fact, when they announced the movie, people were like, why? Why would you make a movie about Iron Man of all characters? No one cares about Iron Man. He was like a D-list superhero back then. Now, he wasn't, obviously. He was a part of the Avengers. But he was just like super like not a very well liked character or anything like that. And then the movie comes out and just turned him into the biggest character ever. No, I don't overclock the iGPU. I've tried to mess with it in the AMD APU tuning utility, but like I never get it to be stable. Like, it just fluctuates so much, and I see no actual gain. Yeah, I mean, like, Robert Downey Jr. pretty much embodied the character so much that he actually just changed how the character was written in the comics and everything. Like, it was one of those things where, like, the movie role was so popular that, like, the comics were just, like, rewritten to essentially just be like a written form of Robert Downey Jr.
What happened here?
And I mean, like, if you watch the original Iron Man movie, it's so weird compared to like modern Marvel movies. Cause like, I mean, back then Tony Stark was actually a weapons dealer. You know, he was working for like the government selling high-tech weapons of mass destruction. Like, he was essentially a military contractor, and then we see him when he makes the actual full suit go to the Middle East and just start killing terrorists. Like, my man actually was just out there gunning down like people. Like, you would never see that in a Disney Marvel movie. Never. Like, it was just like, it was a different time. Because, like, at the time, Disney was not even involved in the Marvel movies. Back then, it was, like, all just done by Paramount. So, like, Paramount was the distributor for, like, the original Iron Man. Like, they were just, like, completely different. Like, it was a whole different idea that they were going for back then. The Marvel movies in general, though, they're just like, at this point, I'm over them. Like, I feel like after Endgame, I'm done. You know, like, I'm because, like, I didn't like Endgame too much, really. I thought that it was, like, pretty mid. I think the problem that Endgame had was that it had so many characters at once. Yeah, like, the Incredible Hulk was interesting because it's still technically canon. You know, like, it's still a part of, like, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you know? Like, they've made references to it and everything. Yeah, because, like, actually, like, at the end of the Incredible Hulk, you actually see Robert Downey Jr. See, like, I don't think Endgame was too short. I think that it was just, they had too much shit going on. They really did. Like, having a cast of, like, 50 different characters and you have to get on screen, you were bound to just, like, have a disaster happen. For sure, like I think it needed more time, or it just needed some of the fat trimmed, and I think they should have just trimmed the fat. Like, having way too many characters on screen, because you never got enough time to get attached to anybody on screen.
Go, Arbiter. I'll follow when our reinforcements arrive.
The thing about the difference between 16 gigabytes of RAM and 8 gigabytes of RAM is mostly down to just 1% lows. Like, it really just depends on the game, because some games need more VRAM than others. You know, like if you're playing older titles, or if you're playing something like Valorant or CSGO, it's going to be a different experience than if you're trying to play something like Doom. So, like, a percentage-wise, I really can't say, because that would be just like a gross generalization that would essentially be unhelpful to you. Because, like, it really is game dependent. But in general, like, what you will see is an uplift in averages and 1% lows that is going to be noticeable in, like, more demanding games. So if you're someone that's trying to play, like, AAA titles and stuff like that, you need the 16 gigabytes of RAM. If you play esports games, you can get away with 8. You will just have less consistent, like, 1% lows, because things have to be swapped in from the RAM more often. But yeah, like with the Endgame, I just feel like having such a huge cast of characters meant that, like, none of the characters got enough screen time to really, like, let anything build. Like, anytime a character was on screen, it was literally just to move the plot forward, not to, like, let things sit. Because, like, there was way too much stuff going on. Way too much stuff. I like movies when, like, they're a lot more restrained and focused in on just, like, individual characters. Because, like, I mean, on any movie that isn't a Doctor Strange movie, Doctor Strange literally is just a plot device. He will only show up on screen to be like, hello, I am here to give you exposition. Let me open a portal. Anyways, go through the portal. I'll see you in about an hour when the movie needs to end and you need someone to show up and fix things. That is what Doctor Strange pretty much became, like, in any movie that wasn't a Doctor Strange movie. Like, even in Endgame, he just shows up, opens portal, brings people in, and, like, that's it. You know, like, there isn't any opportunity of that for any of them to be actual characters. But anyways, guys, I am really tired. I've pretty much just been benchmarking all day. I was hoping to go for, like, at least 4 hours on stream, but I am at this point struggling to keep myself awake. So I think that is going to be it for today. Oh, I'm gonna stop the game right here. And yeah, pretty much that is it for the stream for today. Shorter than what we normally do. But it was just a quick little stream that I wanted to do. We'll catch you guys in the next one. We're probably going to be doing more of Halo. Hopefully you come around, have a good time, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.